Okay, just one tiny little feature that I wanted to cover that I hadn't covered. One small, it's small but it's useful, so I will just quickly tell you what it is. As you'll notice, these guys here have got labels for their positions. When we hit formation, if I was to change this person here to a, if I was to change them to a, say, an advanced midfielder, and then I adjusted the formation. In fact, I think even resetting it might well do it. Yeah, you notice that there it changes back to what its default is. I just suppose you didn't want that to happen, and you wanted to keep, you know that Jordan's always going to be an advanced midfielder in AMF. So if we were to come in here and we dropped him in as or her in as an advanced midfielder, what we then would do, you don't have to do this once, it remembers it from here on in, but this little button here, it's kind of got a formation lock on it. It probably should be a lock, not a save, but it's basically saying that it'll save anything that you add in, and it won't overwrite it when it formats the formation. So if we click on that one and then we go back into our field of play, there we go. Right, okay, so now you can see that we've got our AMF. If we just give him a little move and then reset, it now stays. So we're not losing those those elements of what we want to keep. So again, we might have a left back and a right back, and we want to change formation now to that. They actually keep their left back, right back naming position. Of course, these players will move around in different scenarios. I can't tell which one's going to be left and right and how many players. There was 4 in the last formation, there's 3 in this one, so someone has to move up, hence why they moved to here. But of course they would more likely be there. But if that was the case, you could very easily just do a quick swap over, pop that player into there, and of course they carry the label with them. So this is where you would then just need to go in and say, actually, you're a left back, you're a centre midfielder, and the process becomes a bit more manual. But really, those little bits I just talked about just help us to try and get as closer. They're not perfect, as in they're not going to follow your every thought, but at the same time you can see it's fairly quick and easy to get in and out of those sort of situations and make things right. So again, if I now go back, just take a note here, we've got left back, right back, centre midfielder, AMF. If we were to now go back into here and put this back to kind of standardised defaulting of the names and positions, you'll notice AMF, CM, LB, right B is still there. But if we were to go now to our formation and change that, you'll notice they're now back to wing backs, CDMs and centre backs. So yeah, that's that. It's a really useful feature if you do get quite sort of developed in, or sort of heavily developing steps. You'll also notice that these it seems a bit strange, but sometimes you can make a step whereby a player can move into a different position like we've got here. Now you see the centre forward there. They wouldn't necessarily suddenly turn into a striker, but essentially they sort of have at kind of halfway through this move, and you wouldn't tell them to be a striker, but one thing to just be mindful of is these little steps. They will in fact record, if you want them to, by re-establishing these. They will actually record that new position. See, it's gone back to centre forward. Now, is that useful or not? Not sure. I've actually made use of it a few times, but it can help describe to a player when you've got certain players that are actually, we need to just change them back to a centre forward if we wanted that to be consistent. What it can do is help you just make a player understand their sort of second position, if you like. I do try and encourage a few of our players to try and play in more than one position, and sometimes that can be confusing. So centre forward, striker, that should be a striker. So we go back to our little bit there. We want to save it on this E stamp. So we will need to just go back into this, change them as a striker. Back to the step again on the E stamp. So yeah, you can kind of see it from here. I mean, it's not something I expect. This is almost, that's not even, I wouldn't call it advanced usage. It's just a useful little thing if you really want to use it. It's quite good for sort of wing backs if you're in the middle of a sort of an explanation, but you actually want the wing back to suddenly sit solid and become a right back instead. Don't go flying down the wing. That might be some use there. I found it useful for strikers, centre forwards and cams as well. But you can see suddenly at this position that person or that player took the role of a striker really at this point. So yeah, you would go through and you would rename these guys as well as striker because it's the target man. So that's kind of, yeah, it's a useful part of that feature, but again, it's just in there. Okay, I think that will do for this this little extra bit of the tutorial. Like I said, go off, have some fun, enjoy playing with it, and hopefully you'll find some use for it. Thanks ever so much. Take care.